Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 13th episode of A Week Ahead with me, Liam, and my friend Tommy.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for episode 13.
It is currently Monday, June 2nd. Hope everyone's having a good start to their June. All your plants and gardens are doing well. We're not getting that much crazy rain anymore. So that's good to see. I will go right into it. Before we start, once again, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. You In our description below, we have our Facebook link. And if you click that, follow us, share us, we can get out and be on Facebook more and one day be able to stream on Facebook when we get enough views. We're about getting there time wise. Um, Now I'll go into the weather, which today was pretty nice. High of 74, low of 53. Pretty sunny out. Hopefully everyone enjoyed today. Tomorrow will be a little bit more hot though. 81, low of 62. Sunny. Wednesday will be light clouds, mostly sunny. 86, 66 lows. Thursday will be actual thunderstorms and rain. 78, 59. Gonna be some weird weather there, probably very humid. Friday, 72, 58. It'll be raining as well. Saturday and Sunday will be light cloudy. Saturday high, 71, low 53. Sunday high, 74, low 58. Then next Monday, it looks like it might be raining. High is 76, low at 59. Now, Tommy will be going into stocks.
So your weekly stock recap. So Dow last week ended up 456 points, 1.09%. NASDAQ was up 228 points, 1.2%. And S&P 500 was up 81.87 points, or 1.4%.
It looks like today the Dow is up 0.08%, NASDAQ 0.67, Russell 200 0.19, S&P 0.4, so slightly up. A little bit less than the averages for last week. Once again, and also below us we have for weather too, so you can look at that anytime during the show, just like for stocks above us. Our first topic that Tommy will be going into, a funny topic.
So this topic, there's some the funny aspect of this topic is just how completely ridiculous our current president is being. There's obviously very serious ramifications to what I'm going to talk about that is not funny. So Trump sets a 2-week deadline on Ukraine. So U.S. President Donald Trump has appeared to set a 2-week deadline for Vladimir Putin, threatening a different response if Russian counterparts are if stringing him along like he perceives that. Um, as the Kremlin escalates its attacks on Ukraine, Trump was asked in the Oval Office on Wednesday if he thought Putin wanted to end the war. I can't tell you that, he said, but I'll let you know in about 2 weeks, Trump told reporters. The bombardment by Russia are said to have been some of the largest and deadliest attacks since the start of the war, which is what triggered these comments from Donald Trump. And of course, the war is now in its 4th year. Since Sunday, Trump has written multiple posts on social media saying that Putin has gone, quote, absolutely crazy and is, quote, playing with fire after Russia intensified its attacks on Ukraine. The comments are a sign of Trump's growing frustration as the White House repeated efforts to negotiate a deal between Russia and Ukraine appear ever more futile. That is from the BBC. So what is just so crazy about this topic is just that, our president, Donald Trump, feels as if, that he has any sort of capacity to end this war, and just him setting a deadline, a 2-week deadline, like, hey, we're going to solve these sort of complex issues of international affairs in 2 weeks. Like, that's just completely ridiculous. Um, you know, uh, President Trump's agenda when it comes to Ukraine, in my view, has just been completely backwards. We've been applying pressure to our allies, the Ukrainians, who are fighting to defend against Russia's illegal war of aggression. and we're not putting any pressure on Vladimir Putin, who is a foreign adversary of the United States. And it's just completely ridiculous. Trump's whole path forward for Ukraine, what he wants to do, basically revolves around this mineral deal, which will just essentially give large U.S. multinational corporations the power to go into Ukraine and extract wealth, extract resources from that country, and our president doesn't even want to give them any sort of security guarantees in exchange for that. So like I said, obviously this news story in many respects is not funny. You have Russia continuing its illegal war of aggression against Ukraine, and you have Donald Trump siding with the aggressor and our foreign adversary, Vladimir Putin, over our allies, the Ukrainians. But what is kind of why this is under the funny topic is just sort of the ridiculousness of, like I said, I'm going to solve this in 2 weeks. That's what he said.
Yeah, that's
Good
how
luck.
I feel about
Good
it.
luck.
That's how it's funny too, because he said when he was getting elected, he could have it done before he got elected, or was it before he was in office? Once he got elected, it didn't. It's been 6 months now. He's been president almost 6 months now, 5 months, and nothing's happened. It's getting worse, like he's been saying on Truth Social. But Truth is, you're saying how much harder the war has been getting for Ukraine. So it's definitely interesting to see him keep. I feel like it's just keep him lying and pushing, not being a dead horse, but kind of like trying to hide it and just keep pushing it along. That Putin's just going crazy and not listening to him, because he was talking about it the last 2 weeks, how Putin's not listening to him like how he used to.
Yeah, and the idea that anybody in the U.S. government would trust Vladimir Putin, like that in itself is like worthy of getting on the funny topic of our show. Like Vladimir Putin in world
True.
affairs is known to be a bad guy. He'll shake your hand with one hand and stab you in the back with another hand. He's not a good person. There's arrest warrants out for him by the International Criminal Court, and to trust someone like that is just ridiculous. But then again, Trump is also a criminal. Vladimir Putin's a war criminal. Donald Trump is a convicted of sexually assaulting people in New York City. So maybe they like each other because of that, but it's just ridiculous.
Agreed. I don't know if there's more
You have any
to
more,
it about it, yeah, because we kind of all know about Ukraine and the war now, and just him keep pushing it along. I feel like there's going to be a deal eventually, but I don't know if it's going to be now, if Russia really feels like they can just take all of it back through slow time. They said it was going to be a quick war, and now they know it's not going to be a quick war, so maybe they will take their time with it. I'm good to go into our national news topic one, unless you got some input again.
No, I mean, I guess all I would add then, I think the correct way to handle the war in Ukraine is, I want a peace in Ukraine. I want a lasting peace between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. But the idea that, a peace should be at the expense of the sovereignty of Ukraine is just completely backwards. Ukraine is a sovereign nation and they have the right to defend themselves against a foreign adversary like Russia, who, illegally invaded their country. And it's just so disheartening to see that, my government under the Trump administration is putting pressure on those fighting for their democracy, putting pressure on them, but not putting any pressure on the dictator in the Kremlin. So, from my perspective, we should be supporting these people, getting them into the best position of power to go into negotiations for a peace deal, so they can preserve as much of their sovereignty as possible.
Yeah, I agree. And then we'll go into a national news. Oh, you can go.
Nope, you're good. Sorry.
Yeah, we're going to national news topic one, which is basically the Trump tariff update and will they stay. Kind of goes into a national news topic two, but it's a little bit different from news topic two. Make sure I get this out of here real quick. U.S. President Donald Trump is not planning to extend his pause to the sweeping global tariffs. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said. The president, the president's plan will countries face between 11 to more than 100% tariffs on goods brought into the U.S. was announced in April, but the majority of the tariffs were paused by Trump for 90 days in the wake of the stock market validity. Speaking of Fox News, Lutnick said he expects the president to stand firm when the 9-day pause expires at the start of July. For July 4th, Independence, baby. Trump's tariff policies have unopened global trade, and cracks have been formed or widened among relationships between U.S. and other countries, including some of its closest partners, which you know of Canada, Mexico, some of our close trade, like China too, as well, how much we buy from. Me and Tommy talked a lot about this the past couple weeks. I think the news topic too will play a little bit more into it, and the balance of powers might affect this a little bit more. But like I said before, like these tariffs are kind of just crazy, and how much they go and how much they're going to hurt us in the long run. Like we talked about last week, Amazon and other websites are thinking about like telling us how much we'll be paying in these tariffs, and I think that would be good for voting as well. But it's changed so much too from the original plan, where like there's certain things from China, like we said a couple weeks ago, where there's like if it's like semiconductors and certain electronics from China are going to be like not tariffed at all. So we're going to make it ways that it actually won't hurt us too bad, but still there's going to be big hurts. It's going to hurt small businesses, like I know on our Healthy Living show, Crash Car Coffee, my friend Trevor gets a ton of coffee from different countries. All those countries had no tariffs, and now they have at least 10 or 11%, some even more. So that'll be hard on him, and having increased already higher prices for being like non-GMO, fair trade, all that good stuff. People kind of like, and we see this with a lot of products in America. Americans will always pick, sometimes some Americans always pick the cheaper options and easier options. So I don't think tariffs are the best way to control the economy and to get taxes to the government. And like we talked about last week with his budget, the new Big Beautiful Budget or whatever, for Big Beautiful Budget. We're still going to be losing trillions of dollars even with these tariffs. So, tax cuts to the rich, like Trump had his first presidency. Now, these tariffs and he's doing more tax cuts is just going to be dumb. And the deregulation is going to hurt too as well, because regulation does generate, for federal government money as well. Permits cost money, so there's always tariffs. There's always other stuff. You can cost more money to buy things, cost more money to build things. But in the long run, it all needs to be a good balance, and this is just going to hurt more Americans, especially lower income Americans, because a lot of times they got to buy cheaper things too that aren't made here. And like we talked about before, we don't really make a lot of these things, so it's going to be interesting. Good example is I have Patagonia American-made hemp socks you could buy for $22 for one pair. So if you want American-made socks, it costs $22. If you want a pair every day of a week, you're spending, $150 on socks. A shirt will cost $100. Jeans will cost $150. Like pants are like stuff is expensive. A good dress shirt would cost $150, $200. I've seen it. If you go to certain stores, you could find boutiques that sell American products. They're crazy pricey. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. A lot of times, like even if they put 100% tariff on a Colombian-made or an Indian-made shirt, it's still going to be cheaper than making it in America. So, what's your input on this, Tommy?
My input mainly revolves around the name of the article, actually. Trump tariff update. Will they stay? The sort of uncertainty around these tariffs in many respects is just as damaging as the actual tariffs themselves.
And this is from the
Markets do not
BBC, so it's
respond.
not really like an American biased, news source
Right.
either.
Yeah, no, like traditionally like BBC, CNN International, if you really want like a very very neutral take on American politics, that's the way to go. But yeah, so Trump tariff update, will they stay? To me, that's the takeaway from this, because like I was saying, the markets do not respond to this sort of, instability. One day Donald Trump is doing one thing with tariffs, the next day he's doing completely another thing. One day the rate's 50%, the next day the rate's 100%, just very, very recently, the past couple of days, he raised the tariffs on steel and aluminum coming into the United States. Markets do not like that. Also, it's also just no way to run a country. Like if we take the markets out of it and we're just looking at this issue from a pure like public policy standpoint, um, robust public policy is a matter that needs to be thought out very, very carefully and then stuck to, unless like there's obvious problems with a certain policy.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
but what the president's doing, what Donald Trump's doing right now, is he just shooting from the hip right now? 25% tariff, 50% tariff, steel and aluminum up. Extending the deadline, not going to extend the deadline, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Not only do the markets not like that, that's just not a very good and efficient way to actually, run a country. I think it just shows a lack of um, not only intelligence from the president, but also like sort of a lack of long-term critical thinking that I don't think the president or anyone in his administration actually has.
Agreed. They're shooting us so far off the cusp. Everyone's just kind of like trying to like look at Trump, being like, "What do we do?" It's interesting. I'm excited to see how it goes. His press secretary, a lot
Yeah,
of her responses are just crazy about it, so I love to see it.
it's crazy, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the Trump administration defends these tariffs to the American people. You know, when they really people they're already hitting now. There's already a lot of tariffs that are in effect, but if we're really getting into this world where hey, there's a flat 100% tariff on everything from China, you know, that's going to cause a rise in prices for consumers. The consumers are going to pay that price. The companies, foreign governments, they don't pay these tariffs. You do. It's actually fairly fair to see a tariff as like almost like a form of a sales tax, almost. You know what I mean? But when these prices start to rise, how is the press secretary? How's Trump? How's JD Vance? How's all of the cronies in the administration? How are they going to sell this to the American people? Hey, you're paying $20 for socks now. Hey, this um, avocado guacamole, like it was cheap at Chipotle. Like people are going to say that was the cheap price. Like, man, I wish I could get an avocado for Chipotle prices. Like that's what people are going to be saying, and how they're going to
True.
spin that if this actually goes into effect is going to be very, very interesting. If anything, just from a political messaging standpoint, to see how they try to lie and cheat their way out of the consequences of their own actions.
Yeah, good way to put it. And we're kind of seeing it now too with how constituents are reacting to the cuts. People like how they're showing up to their town halls and speaking out. So I'm excited to see how deeper it goes. Do you want to go into a national topic news too, which is a little bit about the same, but with about the tariffs, just about it in the courts as well.
Yeah. So what else has been going on in regards to these tariffs? Apologize, we're a little tariff heavy this week. A federal court on Wednesday froze most of these tariffs imposed by Trump, um, ruling that the levies exceeded the president's legal authority. So the ruling, which was issued by a panel of judges on the U.S. Court of International Trade, which I will be completely honest on this podcast, I have a JD. I had no idea that court existed. The U.S. Court of International Trade. I will fully admit that. But this court, it ruled that these tariffs exceeded the president's authorities under the Economic Powers Act of 1977, or IEPA, which gives the president the power to regulate imports during certain emergencies. But the court on Wednesday rejected the government's interpretation of the law and said it would be unconstitutional for any law passed by Congress to give the president blanket authority to set tariffs. So that's a non-delegation doctrine. So basically, what this court said in very, very simple terms is that this law passed by Congress enables the president to issue tariffs in cases of national emergencies. But we are not actually in a national emergency right now. Like a trade deficit is not a national emergency. So this is sort of a trend that we're seeing right now by the Trump administration, where they're trying to exploit various laws, like the Alien Enemies Act, like this law to levy tariffs. They're trying to exploit the full power of these laws by just essentially making up what is a national emergency, which then would empower the president to do certain things. So that's why you hear the president talk about, there's an invasion at our southern border. That word invasion is very, very, very important in terms of the legal arguments that the Trump administration is going to try to make here. Same thing, how he's trying to label trade deficits as an emergency. If there really is an emergency, the president can take more actions. So essentially, the court just saw all through that. And the court said that a global 10% tariff are not authorized by IEEPA because they're designed to deal with trade imbalances between the U.S. and the rest of the world, which the judges would fall under the non-emergency legislation. And you also have to just sort of remember broadly, that Congress has much more power over the U.S. economy, and they hold the purse strings. Laws have to originate from Congress. Obviously, the president cannot just make laws. So it really just sort of shows how Trump is really usurping the power of the Congress by asserting a fake emergency. So that was how the news was for about 2 hours on Wednesday. That the tariffs were frozen. They were put on the books illegally. But then a court of appeals in D.C. on Thursday temporarily halted this trade court's decision. So they're going to go into sort of oral arguments, briefings, motion practice, and the tariffs are going to stay on the books until the appeals court, and then probably the Supreme Court looks at this issue as well. But it's going to be interesting to see. I will point out too that the federal court, the U.S. Court of International Trade, this 3-judge panel, it was a Reagan appointee, it was a Trump appointee, and it was an Obama appointee, and it was a unanimous decision. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, and probably revisit this one when this reaches the U.S. Supreme Court, probably in about a year.
Yeah, but a lot of it was a Trump appointed, so it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
How do you feel about that, Sam?
Absolutely.
Like a probably sway back, or they'll keep the tariffs.
Well, it's always hard to speculate with what the U.S. Supreme Court's going to do, because the U.S. Supreme Court is the only body that can overrule its own president. They could overrule what what they said in the past, and that's their unique ability to do that as being a Supreme Court. What I generally when I like to comment on the Supreme Court. So you have they range, the Republican appointees to the U.S. Supreme Court. They range in how bad they actually are. So like Justice Thomas and Justice Alito, you can pretty much always count on them doing the wrong thing. They're definitely bet against Alito and Thomas doing the right thing. Roberts is, I think Roberts is a smart man, but I think he doesn't have any control over that court.
Yeah.
Justice Amy Coney Barrett, she's interesting. I think she shows some willingness to stand up for basic constitutional principles, but her and I definitely have some disagreements when it comes to constitutional interpretation and stuff. But she would be the one to keep an eye on with something like this, and probably Roberts as well. So it'd probably fall down to how Roberts and Barrett would vote on a case like this. Kavanaugh would probably just be drunk, like he was the one that had all that controversy
Yeah.
going on at his appointment. So it's going to be interesting to see. I could see this going either way at the U.S. Supreme Court. I don't know anything about international trade law, just to be very, very clear. I know about like the non-delegation doctrine. I know about constitutional principles, but just from if you remove the law out of it and just look at it from a purely political perspective, I could see it going either way at the U.S. Supreme Court.
Agreed. It would be interesting too, like if there's any other courts that could strike this down or have issues with it. We do have a lot of checks and balances, and like we were saying before too, of how they feel with Congress not giving approval. Congress was talking about that since Trump did it, so or came out with a tariff.
Yeah,
So
and if you look at it from just if you look at the political philosophy of it, um, the founders, what they really wanted was they wanted a deliberative Congress, um, broken up into two bodies, a House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. They were supposed to all be deliberative, but the Senate was really supposed to be very, very deliberative. The House was supposed to be more, um, in line and more energetic with what the people wanted, and the Senate was supposed to sort of temper some expectations. Um, the president was supposed to be, like an energetic official who could respond quickly when a deliberative body is not appropriate. Like if the United States is actively under attack, you can't just say we got to go to committee about this. We're gonna go to Congress. There has to be someone that can take some action in the meantime. That um, take some action in the meantime while the deliberations from the more deliberative branches of government can take place.
mm-hmm.
What you see in a situation like this, and what the court's kind of underscoring is this is not an emergency. Like there's plenty of time, for Congress, who again holds the power of the purse, the power to levy taxes. They have time to talk about, do we need to do something about this trade imbalance, or do they not? It's not an emergency that requires quick action. It's not like that some foreign adversary is dumping dangerous goods in our economy, and the president has to enact tariffs right now in order to combat that harm. It's not a situation. It's not a situation like that, and that's what I think the International Court was trying. The U.S. Court of International Trade was really trying to hit at with their holding here.
Mm-hmm.
You have any more to say on that, or you want me to go to our first local news topic?
Yeah, we can go to a first local news topic, Tommy.
Okay.
Oh, wait, before we start that, make sure you like and share, yuck, and then you can go now.
There we go. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and follow us on Facebook. So this is a brief update as well from last week. Last week we talked about the dam. So Trumbull County Commissioners voted unanimously to join Warren Township's appeal to stop the removal of the Leavittsburg Dam, following a public meeting where residents officials debated environmental and safety concerns. The appeal challenges a ruling by Trumbull County Common Pleas Judge Ronald Rice to dismiss a complaint from the commissioners and Warren Township trustees seeking an injunction against the Metro Parks plan to remove the dam. Commissioner Denny Malloy supported the appeal, arguing for less intrusive solutions. Initially, Bernard and Rick Hernandez expressed reservations. Bernard noted the county already spent $65,000 fighting the dam's removal. However,
great.
After a closed executive session, the commissioners unanimously agreed to authorize their attorney to join the appeal. So I just think this is so incredibly stupid at every level. So what this basically is, the Metro Parks is part of county government, just like the commissioners.
Mm-hmm.
So we're basically suing ourselves. Like, I just think this is absolutely insane. We're wasn't that long ago that the commissioners were just talking about all these department heads have to cut back their budget. We might have to raise sale taxes. That was the talk of the town. That was the talk of the Tribune Chronicle. That was the talk of all the local politicos. We're just not taking in enough money. Sure, we have a dog pound that can only hold 10 dogs. Sure, we have a 911 center that's, in poor conditions, but, we still got to cut our budgets. We can't provide services to people because we don't have enough money. And if people want these services, they're going to have to vote on a sales tax increase. That was the talk about 2 months ago. But we went from that to, hey, now the budget's passed, to, hey, why don't we sue ourselves? And we've already spent $65,000. I just think this is absolutely insane. At the end of the day, the dam, I think it would be very nice to, have that river be returned to its natural state. I think it'd be good for recreation around here. Ultimately, I think the dam is unnecessary. The dam is, dams are actually, Liam, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, isn't like a dam actually fairly dangerous after a long time? Like, you gotta spend money to keep maintaining those. You have
Yeah,
to,
and a lot of them are
like,
abandoned. But really, and it's interesting,
right.
like I don't know, like it's just when politicians think they know better than the people that run it. So like you have this parks department that know about parks and just saying let's remove the dam, it'll help out parks throughout the whole county. And the commissioners are saying, oh, we think we know more than the parks department. And like a lot of times in politics, you'll get this, but it just shows an ineffective county commissioners because like they need to be focusing on things that they know and they could understand and work on. Not really like you're saying, like wasting
Yeah.
65 grand when they're telling departments to cut and they're worried about lack of money. They're asking for state and federal government for more money. So I don't know.
Well, and also too, it's not just they're going against the park board. They're also going against the Ohio EPA. The Ohio EPA said it's okay to do as well. Like, and I understand that there's various different reports. And to be very clear, I don't claim to be I'm not an engineer. All I'm going on is what I've read is that the Ohio EPA says it's safe to take down this dam. Okay, you know
Yep.
I don't have the knowledge or skills to disagree with that. There are varying reports out there. Some say don't do this. Some reports say do this. But the Ohio EPA says this is safe to do.
And like
So,
dams are bad for the
the,
environment, but now they're probably like, oh, since it's been the environment for so long, don't change it. But it'll be better if you have a little bit of change, and then it goes back to normal. Like some fish will
yeah.
die, some like has like a new oxygen, like new environments, new oxygen levels, but it still will be better off later on for like the environment, for free flow, for a lot of stuff.
And I'll be honest, what bothers me about this story about the dam is all the talk is on, Warren Township. They don't want this they don't want this dam removed. What about the people upriver? Does their opinion not matter? Um, it just seems like that you have a very, very small group of people in Warren Township who do not want this dam removed, and they are willing to do whatever in order to stop that from happening. And if you live upriver from that dam, they don't care. You know, it just, I don't know. There's that aspect. There's the suing yourself aspect. There's, uh,
Agreed.
supposedly we're close to fiscal emergency. Like, and there's that aspect. I'm just tired of hearing about it as well. Like, come on, come on. Let's stop suing ourselves and let's get back on track here.
Agreed. Bigger fish to fry right now. Way bigger fish to fry.
Yep.
And like
You have anything
like
else
you
to add?
said, there's more solutions too they could do, but like a ripple rock isn't the best for kayaks. That's like white water at that point. You couldn't just have like normal kayaks going down there. So like just removing it, making it like a normal river is kind of the best. Like just removing
Yeah.
half of the dam wouldn't be the best solution. It's gonna help out flow for everyone too. Like you're saying, downriver, and there's probably people upriver that want it too. It's just some people in, like you're saying, Warren Township. So I don't like that. I'm good to go with our last topic if you are.
Yep. There you go.
All right, sounds good. Um, And it's looking like health wise, the stream's really good. Like it's not lagging. We should be like not dropping frames. Should be looking good for people. Our last topic is how once again Trumbull County okayed the first step for a new 911 center relocation. And the Trumbull County Commissioners on last Thursday took a step towards relocating the county's 911 dispatch center by approving Phase 1 of a project to move operations from Howland to a more modern facility in Cortland. The 2-1 decision, with Commissioner Tony Bernard dismissing or dissenting,
Dissenting.
authorizes Philip Sinak, Architects of Warren, and MCM Consulting Group Inc. of State College, PA. That is where Penn State's at. To conduct structural engineering, space studies, and cost analysis for a proposed renovation of a Cortland building owned by the Trumbull Combined Health District. The project's initial cost is to set up a $18,300 for the architect and $45,500 for the consultant, with renderings and aid for security funding. With renderings to aid in securing funding. Commissioner Denny Malloy detailed dire working conditions at the current facility, calling it a dungeon where employees face mandatory 65-hour work weeks and denied vacation because of staff shortages and people not wanting to work there. Commissioner Rick Hernandez supported the move, noting the current facility's lack of windows and deteriorating structures exaggerates the stressful jobs of the dispatchers. He estimated the relocation could save the county $1 million to $1.5 million compared to building a new facility. However, Bernard expressed concerns about funding, questioning the lack of a clear financial plan and referencing other county needs, like the coroner's lack of a permanent facility after the closure of Trumbull County Regional Center, which was its former home. In my opinion, this is very interesting too. We kind of, if this is something that we need direly, we do. But obviously, if we have other issues like for coroners, dog pound, we have issues of pets in most of the cities in Trumbull County. Basically, what it comes down to, we gotta pay more taxes. I don't think that's gonna be happening. So they gotta get better at it. You know what I mean? Better at funding, maybe getting grants. Oh, you can go, Tommy.
Yeah. So what I think is just so crazy about this story is all in all, like, I know they've been talking about this 911 center relocation for a long time. I believe they want to put it above the health department, in Cortland, I believe, correct?
Yep.
Yep. And so that's nice. They already got like a location. They don't have to build a new building, so that's nice. I just really feel for those 911 dispatchers. Like, I know that's an incredibly hard job. Like, that is not a fun job. Like, you hear, people at like the absolute worst.
Yep.
And I know it's actually quite traumatizing for people. And then just having to do that job in sort of a situation where, hey, my building's moldy, or, hey, I don't have a window, like I have no natural light here, like I'm just sitting in under like a fluorescent light, and like I'm just listening to, people having a bad time, or even
killed,
worse,
like crazy stuff, yeah,
or getting
basement.
killed, all in all, I'm happy that they're exploring this option. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that 911 operators are working 65 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
And it says like
I find
they've had their employees enduring the conditions for 5 years. They had a flooding issue, and I agree that like we kind of need a modern Category 4 rated facility designed to withstand disasters, ensuring safety for first responders and residents who rely on those 911 services as well.
Yeah. No, like 911 is one of those things it's one of those like core fundamental government services that can just not fail. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those cores, pillars of our system of government and community. What I think is fascinating is, Tony Bernard, is pulled out his fiscal hawk hat here. But this is the guy that just voted again to sue himself. You know, like um, Tony Bernard, like we just talked about with this damn thing, he voted to continue with this appeal. Tony Bernard voted to spend $65,000 to, you know, contest this damn thing. But now when it comes to the 911 center, he's going to put back on his fiscal hat here. So I just think that's just ridiculous.
Mm.
Of course, you know, there is a lot of other needs that this county has. Like I know the
Agreed.
coroner needs a new place. Um, Dog pound. There's plenty of different areas that we need to improve our services and our facilities here in this county. Um, but I just think it's rich that you know, Tony Bernard cites that while at the same time voting to spend more money on an appeal against
Yeah, no, agreed.
another uh, department of
Just
county
they could be
government.
spending that money for engineering and architectural services for coroner, for a new dog warden, shelter, a bunch of stuff. It's like 65,000 is a lot when we were just saying how it's 45 for engineering, 13 or 18 for architectural services.
Yeah,
So I mean, exactly. No, I agree. So interesting, and like
but overall, though, I know we kind of
politics
got
was.
into the politics of it a little bit,
But they will. They will
but
just be dumb about it. Let their egos take play and say, "Oh, what's money? Let's just help out these guys, right?" I don't know. It's dumb.
yeah. But I am happy for the 911 dispatchers. You know, they're going to be getting a new
Agreed.
facility. It sounds like. You know, I don't think anyone should be working 65 hours a week in a bad building for any job, let alone when, you know, you hear violent, heinous stuff every day. You know, where, you know, you have to make that as easy as possible on those people.
Yeah,
You know,
if that was a levy, I'd
pay
go
that.
for it. So
Yeah.
my county
So I am
levied
happy
up
to
for a
see
new
that.
911 center. Like, there's a reason why a lot of these nice places you'll see too, in Colorado, places in California, New York, Florida, that have money. Like they have really nice 911 centers for the police dispatch. So, I mean, it's kind of what we need. Take care of them because they have a
Yeah.
hard job.
Absolutely. I would never do that job. I'll admit it. I don't have it in me.
Neither do I. But it
I
looks
respect
like
everyone that does though.
that's our last for the night. No comments from anyone, so that's good. Hope our viewers enjoying the episode. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, share, follow us on social media, Facebook. Drop a comment. Watch our other episodes or on our videos on demand via live on our YouTube. Has all of our past episodes on there. Any inputs before we go, Tommy?
No, thank you everybody for listening. And I will see you back next week. And Liam will see you back later this week.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Once again, Thursday we'll have Healthy Living and for our sports show. Or if you're East Ohio Sports Show, Healthy Living 7:30, Ohio Sports Show 8:30. Then we'll be back here Monday. Maybe this is a little bit chiller of a weekend. Maybe I'll have a music show Saturday night. Hopefully, maybe I can do something like that too. That'll be fun. Hope everyone has a great rest of your weeks, everyone. Had a good Monday. Anything you want to say before we go?
Have a good
Tom?
one, everybody.
Yeah, bye, everyone.
Nope, have a good one.
Stay frosty.